Hey all you submariners out there, this is Matt, and welcome to episode number 19 of my Cold Waters Elite difficulty playthrough. Now this is going to be the final video in the series, and as discussed in the previous video, I'm going with a different campaign here, a different submarine, because the previous save game has actually been corrupted. I believe it had something to do with the new patch coming out, and anyway, I was unable to continue playing that one, so I've switched to another Elite difficulty campaign, and I'm going to hopefully be able to see the end of that one. So we're in a different submarine. We're SSN 709, Hyman G. Rickover, and our mission is to launch a TLAM strike on Gromika. So I'm heading in that direction now, just crossed into the Barents Sea, and I'm closing in on Gromika, which is one of the harder places to get to here. Archangel is harder, but Gromika is still quite a ways in there, and I'm lucky that I made it there without encountering any other surface groups or submarine groups. So I'm going to load my tubes with Tomahawk missiles, and then initiate this mission. So Gromika is difficult because the water around it is very shallow.
We are cavitating.
Here the water depth is 221 feet, and we're at 140 feet. So it's going to be difficult to maneuver very well in these conditions. So we just skipped ahead to the point now where I've turned 180 degrees away from the target, and I'm going to fire these first 4 Tomahawk missiles over my shoulder towards Gromika into the circle.
2, 3. Aye, sir.
Once I've launched them all,
Aye, sir.
then I'm going to reload the tubes and speed up so that I can get out of the area until the next 4 are loaded, and then we'll just repeat that process again. So fast forward now to when the first 4 missiles are actually close to the target, are now homing in on the land target. So we just sped things up there, all 4 of them hit. And while I was watching that, looks like I had a torpedo dropped on me. So now I have 1 and now 2 dropped on me. So I'm going to have to do torpedo evasion here in conditions that are quite challenging because I don't have a lot of water to deal with.
Torpedo room 2, 3 ready. Knuckle formed.
Okay, so I dropped a noisemaker back there as well just to help me out. Now we have a 3rd torpedo in the water.
Knuckle formed.
So in these situations with multiple torpedoes, you have to do your best, and here there's a 4th torpedo being dropped. With these multiple torpedoes, you have to do your best to prioritize which ones are the closest and deal with them before the other ones. So I have 2 of them that are fairly close that I have to worry about, and while I'm maneuvering to get myself in a position to deal with one, while I have to keep my eye on the other one. As you can see, even just moving the camera around in these conditions can be difficult because the water is so shallow that it often pops up on top of the water above the surface. So you have to kind of play with the camera a little bit to get it right. So primarily here I'm dealing with 2 of them that are close, that are giving me issues. So I go to the one here that would be on my right, and then get it to go into countermeasure homing, and then go back to the one farther left, do the same thing with it, and just keep repeating that back and forth. And if it gets too close, then I just drop a noisemaker to buy me a little bit more time. See, I have 2 here, the other 2 are far back, and they're not really much of a threat now. We'll just keep repeating this process until hopefully one of them runs out of energy here soon. So there's one that ran out of energy. That one's farther back, so it doesn't really affect me too much. And normally I'd skip ahead here, but because I have so many on me at once, then I'd like to at least show this process so that you can see how it's done properly. I have another torpedo just got dropped on me there. You heard the airplane going by overhead. So I've dropped another noisemaker to buy me a little bit of time, give me some space.
Knuckle formed.
There's another torpedo, one closer that ran out of energy, which is great, which gives me a little bit more breathing room.
Knuckle formed.
Now the other two that I have that are close by are very close together. Unfortunately, they both split when it came to going to countermeasure homing. They went different directions. It would have been easier if they both went in the same direction. Alright, so that one ran out of energy. So I really only have to focus on the one here right now.
Knuckle formed.
And there's another torpedo that ran out of energy way back there.
Knuckle formed.
One of the ones that was not really much of a danger. Alright, so now I'm down to one torpedo. I can skip ahead here a little bit more because one torpedo is not such a big deal. So that one did run out of energy. Now I can slow down and finally launch these 4 Tomahawk missiles at the target. I'm just waiting for my speed to get at, well, I believe under 20 knots is fine, but I want to give myself a little bit more breathing room than that, so I get down to 8 or 7 knots here, and then I'm able to fire them once again pretty much over my shoulder. Fire them all off, reload them with my usual torpedo tube, the usual weapons in my torpedo tubes here, which are 3 torpedoes and 1 anti-ship missile. And you can hear the airplane going overhead there as I did that. Now we'll zoom in on the missiles, which have all acquired. The land attack mission is over right now. Then I get a note that I have some damage to my ballast system. I believe what happened there is that the plane overhead actually dropped some depth charges, and one of them got close enough to do some damage. I wasn't focused in on the submarine at the time, so it's hard for me to tell, but I believe that's what happened. So once
ballast system has been repaired.
Once the ballast is repaired, I feel like I can get the heck out of here. So we'll end the mission here very soon. I can hear some depth charges being dropped behind me. And here, every time the plane passes overhead, it takes you out of a speed up time mode there. So expect that every time the plane goes overhead, then you'll slow down again. So that was a successful Tomahawk land attack mission, and the next mission is actually a SEAL team mission. So my plan was to take it and then do that mission as well. But because I was already in Gromika, and that's where the SEALs needed to be dropped off, as soon as I went back out to the map, the mission enabled, the mission started, even though I didn't have the SEALs on, so I couldn't do anything here but actually leave this mission, which counts against me. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it. So the next mission is enemy cruise missile submarines transiting southward in the North Atlantic. So we'll skip to the point where I put myself in a position to intercept. He's a little bit closer to Iceland than I thought he would be, so I have to move a little bit, but I get there, able to intercept him at 5 knots, bearing 72. Our heading is 29, so we're looking at, you know, a little bit less than 50 degrees off to the right. Looks like nice deep water here to work with, and I'll classify this contact right away. I only have the one contact.
Sonar, Sierra.
It looks like a Charlie. It looks like a Charlie cruise missile boat, which is about what we'd expect for this mission. And now that he's classified, I'll get to a point where I'm finally ready to shoot. I'm descending here and decided to shoot at the same time. That is just too much movement to hope to keep the wire. I probably could have waited a little bit longer, but I decided I wanted to shoot right away. So the wire broke, but I'm not too worried about that.
Classified as submerged submarine.
And now we'll fast forward to when that torpedo arrives. The Charlie was only about 7,000 meters away.
Sonar, noisemaker bearing 07.
And that's it for the Charlie. And that was the only vessel on this mission. So we'll back out here after successfully completing the mission. And head on to the next one, which is another TLAM mission, also for Gromika. So more of the same here. We're going to head back to Holy Lock, resupply. I checked the damage on the boat at that point, and I don't see any. It was at 92% when the damage was done, but it's now back to 100%. I didn't even need to repair the boat. It's like it repaired itself, so I'm alright with that. So we'll load up the 8 TLAMs, make sure that we're all full up on torpedoes. We only fired 1, so it doesn't take long, and then we'll get back to heading for Gromika. Now, between this mission, or the last mission, and this one, I'd actually stopped playing, so this is a different session. You can see now a little bit more information on the map, which is part of changes for patch 1.08. Shows you more of an idea of where the shallow water and the deep water happens to be. That's one thing. Another thing in patch 1.08 is it looks like they nerfed the speed of the submarine on the strategic map, so you're not going quite as fast. It can make getting somewhere quite difficult. We got an update as we were heading out there about peace talks, which means we're making a dent here in the Soviet war effort, and they're looking to peace out, looks like. But not quite yet. We have a few missions to go. So I've gone around Norway, and I'm almost to Gromika. You can see the speed of the 688 on the strategic map is noticeably slower than it used to be. And that's going to come back to bite me in the butt later, but more about that in a little bit. For now, we're going to initiate this mission. Another change made in patch 1.08 is with the TLAM missions. First of all, seems like it no longer gives you the update, or it no longer lets you know when you're at a point to initiate the mission. Now it's just like any other mission. The only thing is that you can't click the close to button in order to start it. You have to click all hands man battle stations. So once again, in the shallow waters around Gromika, 220 feet. I've got all 4 Tomahawks loaded, and I'm gonna fast forward to the part here where I've turned around and I'm ready to fire them. Now, another thing that's changed in these missions that you no longer get that targeting circle that shows you where to fire them. So now you just have to fire them generally in the right direction. I use the anchor symbol as my target to shoot for, so I'll just aim them at that.
Aye, sir.
And then as soon as you launch them, you get a notice right away that Weapon 1 is homing on land targets. So they made these missions, seems like a lot simpler, which I'm not really sure if it makes much of a difference, but you know, it is what it is, and I guess just less of a chance of you messing it up this way. You can shoot anywhere in the general direction of your target, and that should be fine. And you'll get credit for launching them even if they don't really make it there, I think, because it said, you know, Weapon 1 homing on land target already. So now that I have the other 4 loaded, I'll fire them off.
Aye, sir. Aye, sir.
And then we'll get moving to get the heck out of here. Reload tubes with 3 torpedoes and 1 anti-ship missile, and get the heck out of here as quickly as possible. So you see I'm quite close to the bottom. I've come down to 200 feet. The bottom's at 221, but I know that that's quite constant in this area, so I'm not too worried about hitting anything. So I'm focusing on the Tomahawk missiles now, just to see what's going on. Looks like they did hit the targets. So that would be another successful land attack mission launched. Now I'm just going to get the heck out of here. I'm hoping to leave the mission right away, but there's some vessels nearby, either ships or submarines, so I'm going to have to do a little bit more traveling here to get out of the way. We hear a helicopter overhead. We see the rotor wash,
Sonar. Torpedo in the water.
And a torpedo comes right in.
Bearing 165.
So we're not going to get out of this one as easy as I thought. They do launch 1 torpedo at me. but only the one. And I'm able to deal with that easily, so we're not even going to bother watching the whole engagement here with the torpedo. Just watch it a little bit longer and then skip ahead. We'll skip ahead to the point where I'm still evading this one, but now we have a second torpedo. Alright, so that makes it a little bit more interesting.
Knuckle formed.
Because this one seems to be up above me a little bit and a little too close for my liking, I dropped a noisemaker in order to distract it. And that was finally enough, along with the noisemaker and the knuckle, was enough to get that torpedo go to countermeasure homing. So now it's just a matter, because both of these torpedoes are more or less right behind me now, just another matter of getting back into the knuckle technique to keep them at bay.
Knuckle formed.
So now one of those torpedoes is about to run out of energy. The one farther back runs out of energy, and now I only have one to deal with, which is no big thing.
Knuckle formed.
Right, so I'm still trying to evade this one when they tried different tactic on me here. Then now they're dropping depth charges. Right before that torpedo runs out of energy, they start dropping depth charges on me, but none of them really get close.
6, helm aye.
So once that torpedo is out of energy, I decided to change my direction. I want to start heading pretty much due north, just to try to get away from the shore as quickly as possible. I'm hoping there'll be deeper water out that way if I need it, but not anytime soon, looks like. I'm speeding up time to try to get away. You hear some depth charges get dropped behind me. Because I'm traveling at flank speed, when they drop them, they tend to miss. They end up aiming behind me. So as long as I'm traveling at flank speed, I'm quite safe from depth charges. At this point I decide I'm probably pretty close to being able to exit the area, so I travel a little bit longer and then decide that's good enough. I'll try to exit the mission here. Yeah, land strike complete, nothing nearby, so I can leave combat. There were 4 vessels to worry about here, but I didn't bother with any of them. So another successful mission here. And we'll head back out, get the next mission, which is to intercept another cruise missile submarine coming through the Denmark Strait. Now I'm trying to get there, and the speed of this submarine, even at, you know, when I'm clicking with my right button, is just awful. I mean, what a change. They really nerfed it hard in patch 1.08. So I'm heading for the Denmark Strait. If it was a previous patch, I'd probably be 3/4 of the way there already, but now I'm barely even halfway. And I'm heading that way, and just as I'm about to get close, yeah, there's my target. It just showed up, going through the Denmark Strait, and it's moving about as fast as I am, so I'm not going to be able to catch up to it. I try my best, hoping that it won't have moved too far, but no luck there. I end up out in the Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic. There's my target, and there's just no way for me to close the distance. So I keep trying, I keep moving around out there in hopes that maybe it'll jink around and come back a little bit, but it in the end it doesn't. After going about as far to the west as possible and then starting to come back, I decided it's pretty much a loss, which is disappointing. I was hoping maybe it'd be an Oscar or something like that, but Anyway, after all that, we missed that mission, and now we're just waiting for it to expire, which it does now. So unfortunately, unable to do that mission. It's alright, we'll move on to the next one, which is another TLAM mission, also in Gromika. Isn't that exciting? I don't think we've done anything else. Well, we haven't done anything else other than sink one cruise missile sub this whole video so far. But you're going to get a good idea of how to do these TLAM missions, that's for sure. So we'll load up 8. And take the long, painful trip to Gromika with these, in patch 1.08. So I won't make you watch all that. We'll just skip ahead to when I get there. Same as before, you don't get any notice that this is the actual mission and not some sort of engagement that happened just as you were getting close. So you know if you click on close to and it doesn't work, then you click on all hands manned battle stations and it does work, that this is actually the TLAM mission that you were going for.
Con sonar, we are cavitating.
So I'm going to skip through this mission
Contact
as quickly as I can here.
225, designated Sierra 1.
It's just like the last one. I'm going to launch these first 4.
Aye, sir. Aye, sir. Aye, sir.
And then reload the tubes. And then repeat as soon as they're reloaded.
4, 3, 3. Con sonar, we are cavitating.
And I'll make turns for 33 knots because once again, if they start dropping depth charges on me, I have a much better chance of evading that way.
On torpedo room.
So we're watching these approach on sped up time here because I just want to try to get through this as quickly as possible.
Con
So that was the
torpedo room.
first 4.
2 ready.
And here I'm trying to just do an experiment, I guess, while I'm playing. I'm trying to see if I can spot the missiles being launched in the distance, but it doesn't look like it. I don't see anything there.
10 knots.
Con torpedo room. Tube 4 ready.
Shoot 2-4. Aye, sir.
Yeah, so the next 4 missiles have been launched, and I'm looking around to see if I can watch them come in, and unfortunately, no. But that's the kind of things you can do in these missions when you don't really worry about being fired back on.
Con sonar, torpedo in the
Nope,
water.
I hear a torpedo hit the water, and I'm advised of it afterwards.
9.
So they're firing back at me now. It's only the one so
Con
far.
knuckle formed.
And because it seemed to be approaching me and wasn't reacting to my knuckles, I decided to drop a noisemaker, distract it a little bit more. Finally does get sucked up on the noisemaker and goes into countermeasure homing.
Con knuckle formed.
Now they're dropping depth charges on me again. That one was a bit closer, but it didn't do any damage.
Con knuckle formed. Con knuckle.
So I still got that torpedo in my butt, but now it just ran out of energy. One less thing to worry about.
Come right to 002. Helm aye.
Now that it's out of energy, I'm going to put myself back on a northerly course and speed up time as much as possible. And they keep dropping depth charges on me the whole time here. And I just go back and check my damage there in case. Still got ships nearby. So I'll have to continue on this course at this speed to get the heck out of here. More depth charges. I don't think they like me very much. I'd say they're sick and tired of me. This is the 3rd time on this mission that I've gone, on this episode that I've gone and launched cruise missiles at them, so I think they're getting kind of pissed. But that's it for this one. Land strike complete. There's some ships that I never bothered even trying to hunt. And another success. Alright, so this is it. This is the last mission. Soviet ballistic missile submarines sortie to their firing positions in the Barents Sea. Must infiltrate the bastion and sink them before they can strike at continental targets in the United States. So, we've got enough torpedoes, I believe, to do this. So I'm not going to worry about going back and resupplying, especially with the limited speed that I have now on the strategic map. So the first thing I see here is a surface group heading north in this direction, and I want to try to avoid it if possible, but then I decide, you know what, he's coming right at me. Bearing 226, our heading's 253, so we're just dealing with like 25 degrees or so off to the right.
Rig ship for ultra quiet.
Off to the left, sorry. We have Sierra 1 as a target immediately, so I'm going to classify that. I think even if it's a surface group, I should have enough weapons here, especially with the Tomahawk anti-ship missiles that I have on board, to take care of them, plus have enough torpedoes left over afterwards to take the next engagement.
Con sonar, Sierra 1 is classified as escort.
So the first contact is a Crested 2. And I'm heading almost right at him.
Raise the ESM mast.
I'm going to, since I'm at periscope depth, I'm going to get a little bit more information with my masts. Turn in that direction. I'm at 50 feet. There's... yeah, there it is. Master 1. Echo 2 is... should be around here somewhere, but once again, because the water, the waves are so high, it makes it a little bit more difficult to see. So I'm going to go up to 45 feet and take a look around. Now I've been able to I've been able to mark both of those targets. And because I'm quite confident about the range now, I'm going to fire one torpedo at the Crested 2. And I'm also going to fire one down the bearing of the active sonar that I'm getting here towards Master 2. Unfortunately, the second weapon, the wire breaks.
2, 5, 4.
I was descending at that point, so
Master 2 is
that makes sense. Master 2 is another Crested 2. Now I'm just watching the torpedoes. Here's another change from patch 1.08. You can see the torpedo that I launched that had the wire break has now activated, and it naturally now goes into the S-shaped search pattern unless you are able, unless you have the wire still, and if you start to steer the torpedo, it'll stop doing that. But if otherwise, it's just going to keep going in that pattern of search for targets. I believe they've also nerfed the seeker head on the Mark 48 torpedo to make it a little bit more limited in what it can see, because before it was some people think it was OP. It is OP, to be honest. I've pulled off some pretty crazy shots that I probably had no business making, but that seeker warhead is so capable. Alright, so I have two more contacts that popped up in the meantime. I have Sierra 3, which is a Kilo submarine, which is interesting. That's actually the first time I've ever run into a Kilo, which is pretty cool. And I had Sierra 4, but it disappeared for a little bit. Now it just popped back up again. And classify this one. I believe it's a submarine because I looked out that way with the periscopes and didn't see anything. I figure since the Kilo is a diesel sub that it's probably a diesel sub as well, but I go through them all and I don't see anything close. And then when I get to Delta 3, it's a perfect match. So that's actually
Sonar,
a ballistic
Sierra
missile
4
submarine.
is classified
Apparently
as
this is the
submerged
last
submarine.
mission. It's not a surface group that intercepted me. This is actually the last mission, which I was not expecting. I thought it would be all submarines. But, so I've already taken out the first Cresta 2, and now I have a torpedo approaching the second one. And I also have a second torpedo heading towards the Kilo. I believe actually this torpedo right now
Noisemaker bearing 2,
is the one that the wire broke. Yeah, that would be the one that the wire broke. So I didn't have any control over that one at all. I've launched 2 more torpedodos. I got the one heading for the Kilo, and I've got one that I'm hoping will get near the Delta 3.
Last bearing 2.
And I've activated it now, and I'm steering it in that direction.
Fire control, weapon acquired.
I sped up time a little bit until the weapon on the Kilo finally did acquire.
Contact on Sierra 4, bearing 246.
And since this is the first time that I've actually ever seen a Kilo in any campaign, I'm kind of interested to see what they look like. So, as this torpedo gets a little bit closer,
Fire control, weapon
I'm actually going to switch to the point of view of the Kilo because I'd like to get a better look at it. Yeah, there we go. So that's not a bad looking boat, I'd say. It looks quite, you know, modern as far as its design goes. It's got the teardrop shaped hull, and you know, taking advantage of streamlining and everything. Unlike those Whiskies and the Romeos and the Foxtrots that all seem to be World War II design, this one seems to have adopted, you know, some of the developments made since then. So I'm going to switch the torpedoes to active homing. And I'm watching the torpedo come around. All right.
261.
And because I'm on this angle,
weapon countermeasure homing.
I wasn't really able to steer it then, but now that I do have a better solution, and I'm focusing on the torpedo's point of view, I'm able to steer this one in. All right, that's it for the Kilo. I was glad I saw that because, you know, I was wondering if somehow I had some different version of the game where that submarine didn't actually exist. Okay, so now we're skipped ahead, focusing on the Delta 3, and I'm watching my first torpedo home in. And there's no evading this one for him. Hits him right behind the missile compartment there, and he's obviously taking on water because he does an emergency blow and starts heading towards the surface
Fire control, we've
as quickly as he can. Now I fired a second torpedo because it's obviously going to take more than one to take the Delta 3, but that torpedo, the wire breaks right away, even though I'm not maneuvering in any way. That's just crap luck is what that is. So I'm waiting for that torpedo to approach. I just keep my focus on the Delta 3 to keep an eye on what he's doing. And it looks like he's heading for the surface, probably trying to get some crew off, and so I switched to the surface view here to see if I can see him poke through. Yeah, there's the bow just coming through right now, and he manages to get the bow out and some of the conning tower out as well, but that's about as far as he can get. So he's pretty much going at full speed, using his propellers to keep him up near the surface.
2-1, aye sir.
So now I've decided, because the torpedo, the initial second torpedo that I launched, missed because the wire broke. I think it got sucked up on something else or whatever. I've launched the second one, and now you can see it approaching in the distance. And God love him, this Delta 3 commander does his very best keep this torpedo from hitting him. Launching noisemakers and maneuvering his boat
Con, fire control. Weapon
even
acquired.
at like a 45-degree angle or more, trying to keep this torpedo from getting him. But I've got a 95% solution. I'm able to, and I've got the wire, so I'm able to steer it. There's no way he's getting out of it.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 308.
Yeah, that noisemaker made the torpedo go into countermeasure homing, but I steered it back, and then I hit the Delta 3 right in the missile compartment, and down he goes.
Contact breaking up.
So we'll watch him sink. I wanted to see him hit the ground there as my final kill of this campaign. So I was watching him hit the ground, and this is where some weird crap happens. All right, so the back end hits, and then the front end comes down, and he just sinks right into the dirt, and then all of a sudden he's sinking again. So some sort of glitch or bug here in the game. The Delta 3 goes through the ocean bottom and just keeps sinking. Interesting glitch for sure. So I'll keep watching him for a little bit, you know, and I'll set my course to go in his direction. I want to try to go in that area to see if there's anything actually there, if this is actually happening or what have you. So anyway, he keeps sinking for now until finally he just disappears off the map. Maybe he went below crush depth, I'm not really sure, but anyway, he disappears. He's no longer there, even though he's showing on the map. No, he's not there anymore. So I get to that position, I don't see him. I end the mission after sinking everything on this one, and we get my final congratulations from the Admiral, and then we get to watch the closing newspaper articles here. So it looks like after that mission that we have some protesters coming out to protest against the Soviet regime. They're not able to put them down, and then finally it looks like the war is over because the Soviet Union has collapsed in a bunch of civil wars, and so that's it. The Cold War is over so far. So I guess that's it, really. In the end, in this campaign, 102 days at war, sunk 158 vessels for a total tonnage of 966,000. You can add that on top of the 1.175 million tons that I sank in the previous campaign. And so once we click on continue, it goes to the credits. And that's it for Cold Water's Elite Difficulty, my first YouTube campaign. I want to thank everybody that's watched this one, everybody that's subscribed. I've gotten a few subscribers in the since I started this, so I want to thank all you guys for coming by and watching these videos. It certainly makes me feel like I'm not totally wasting my time here. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully in the future I can do another one. No plans for it right now, but maybe we'll see how it goes. I might even install some mods and try a campaign from the point of view of a different submarine. So anyway, thanks again for stopping by, and have a great day.